We're going to begin this hour with something a lot of people are talking about besides Halloween costumes, and that is already the presidential contest of 2028. Could it be ghoulish? We'll get into it. Of course, it's early. Yes, very early. But the speculation is out there. Who's going to run, who's not? In an interview for CBS Sunday Morning, California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom told Robert Costa he will be considering it.
I'm looking forward to who presents themselves in 2028 and who meets that moment. And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
And Bob Costa joins us now. Bob, wonderful interview, wonderful conversation. I'm curious what the governor said he'll base his decision on when it comes to 2028. And who else are you hearing might be jumping into the race?
Great to be with you. Tony, sometimes in politics, what people say matters, but what people do really tells you what's going on. We followed Governor Newsom not just to California for this interview, but to South Carolina. And when the California governor is in South Carolina, that's a pretty big tell. He's thinking hard about running for president in 2028. No firm decisions yet, but he sees a real opening. He was a close ally of President Biden in 2024 when President Biden was facing a lot of criticism. And he sees a path ahead, his allies tell me, should he decide to run as someone who could bring the party together and be a fighter against President Trump. You see the governor fighting against the president, not just on policy, on immigration and the National Guard, but on social media with his satire of President Trump. But he's not the only one. You have Vice President Harris, the former vice president, out there with her book, and she says, "I'm not done." She told the BBC that in recent days, and that tells you there are not only two Californians, but so many others. The Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, a number of senators, they're all seeing an opening in 2028. A lot will depend on next year's midterms and where the party really is.
Bob, one of the big questions is whether Republicans will see an opening. President Trump's former strategist, Steve Bannon, gave an interview to The Economist suggesting that Trump would, one way or another, get a third term, even though it's illegal. Take a listen.
Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is.
So, Bob, the 22nd Amendment, pretty plain as day. It's very clear. A person cannot be elected to president more than twice. So what do you make of Bannon's comments?
Plain as day, to be sure. The U.S. Constitution says 2 terms only. But what's also plain as day, Tony, is that President Trump is close to Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's close to people in Congress. And many Republicans want to see the president renominated in 28, despite what the Constitution says. And that could create a real legal showdown. If he is renominated and the president accepts the nomination in 2028 again, despite the Constitution, you could have the Congress and the courts really face a standoff over whether this could move forward. And the courts would ultimately have a huge say, perhaps the say, over whether that could happen. But we're in such an unprecedented moment when you have the president's allies, some of his top allies, like Steve Bannon, actively toying with the idea of pushing him to be the candidate in 2028. And just see what happens. That's something that could be historic and also troubling for many Democrats who worry Trump's pushing the Constitution, pressuring it in an unnecessary way.
That would be pretty open defiance. I would imagine if not the Constitution, the ambition of other Republicans would hold the president in check on this one. They want to be president, too, but we shall see. Bob, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.